I'm Antonio Graceffo. We're in Phnom Penh, Cambodia today, and I'm with my good friend Doug Mendel. Doug, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're glad to finally meet you.
Definitely after a few years.
I've known Doug for quite a few years now because of his humanitarian work that he's been doing in Cambodia. Doug has a background in firefighting and in EMT, emergency medical technician, which I also did. And Doug's been supporting fire stations in Cambodia, and that's been his project for a number of years now. Doug, tell us, what's the name of your foundation, first of all?
It's called the Doug Mendel Cambodian Relief Fund, and I got my 501c3 status in October '05. I basically raised funds to help 4 fire stations in Cambodia to donate supplies and gear, including 2 fire trucks. Help fire stations in Phnom Penh, Sihanoukville, Ratanakiri, and Battambang.
Wow. And you're doing training with them as well?
A little training, specifically on this trip. 3 firefighters from Denver International Airport in America came with me, and we did a couple days of training of tactics and other types of training at the airport here in Phnom Penh, as well as in Siem Reap. You can do this, and it would be a fog, so it's a very wide mist, and the mist soaks up the heat.
But Doug, there's no water coming out. Is my nozzle broken? Is it still under warranty?
Yeah, Roby's saying
This is like Doug's magic house of tricks in here. What you got in here?
You probably know what this is more than me. A plant of some sort.
This is a monkey wrench. It's from the Clue game.
And it's just for giggles. It has no useful purpose in the fire service.
What specific problems do you see for firefighting in Cambodia?
A few things. One is lack of training, lack of resources, lack of morale, lack of resources, lack of training, but it almost boils down to lack of morale here. In America, firefighters are looked upon as heroes, that they take pride in their jobs. Firefighters here, for whatever the reason, corruption being a background, that they have to fight that corruption that even though it's been in the past and maybe still might be in the present, they're trying to get away from that the firefighters are here for the Cambodian people. When a fire happens, whether it's a business or a home, that the firefighters will go to the fire. No money exchanges hands, that they're just there to put out the fire and protect life and property.
What about as far as infrastructure? Are there fire hydrants in Cambodia?
Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, being that those are, Phnom Penh being the capital, 1.52 million people, there are about 80 hydrants in the capital, but they have 3 different grid systems, maybe Japan, England, and maybe America. So getting the 12 fire trucks based here at the station in Phnom Penh to all have the same adapters and couplings to just match one hydrant is a long-term goal that my nonprofit, as well as a nonprofit from Australia, want to work on. Fire isn't a straightforward nozzle, so it's a high-pressure nozzle that water comes out very forcefully and could get at the base of a raging fire.
We had this in the Army.
Yeah? Get him out! Get him out! Cook's in the wire! Cook's in the wire! Water comes from up there.
And this is full of water. That's
yeah. The water. This is probably a 1,500 liter tank. Hopefully all these tanks are filled with water. The rest of the third province, I asked them how they respond to a fire. And they said we take the empty tank 2 kilometers to the lake, fill the tank up with water, then we go to the fire. And I said, well, that takes you about 45 minutes now, and they said yes, and I said, what happens by the time you get to the fire? They said it's already burned the house down. So I said, wouldn't it be smarter to have the tank already filled with water, so you cut out that step? So it's concepts like that that can be taught to the firefighters, more so in the rural communities and the rural provinces, that just have basically zilch training.
Fire emergency, you have to be prepared.
And I noticed, just 5 minutes ago, I went to try to open the door of the truck. It's locked.
Yeah.
And I understand why. If it's not locked, whatever's inside the cab can be taken, stolen. But that's, just 15 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, fumbling keys to open the delayed response time.
How do people call the EMS here? Do they have like a 911?
There is a phone number.
So there is an emergency response number.
Yeah, but it might just go to a mobile phone that the chief has.
Okay.
So it's not like our 911 system here in...
It's not computerized where they already know your address when you call.
No. But you see phone numbers on the trucks.
One of the problems in Cambodia in general is that so much of the equipment is donated. Obviously nothing's produced here, it's donated. So you have equipment that was left over by the French, equipment left over by the Vietnamese, equipment that came from Russia, and then more recently donor nations like China.
Korea mainly.
Korea.
A smattering, well, a little bit from USA.
From private donations to the U.S. So what winds up happening is you might have a fire hydrant that was made in Korea and a fire truck from the United States, and then they can't get together, right? They
very well said. But I mean, through time and patience, and with at least the nonprofit from Australia and my nonprofit, we're able to make progress. By slowly, we do see progress every few months that we come to visit Cambodia. And I know with a lot of time and patience and other firefighters being made aware of the situation in Cambodia, there will be continued progress on many levels, for the next few decades.
So all these fire trucks have all been donated by different nonprofits. A lot of them in the United States, Korea, China.
China, yes. Korea, maybe sold.
Okay, sold. And then this one was purchased by a local casino.
The ladder truck that we cannot see is the only ladder truck in the country.
Okay.
And so for any building over 100 feet, big problem.
So there's only one ladder truck in the whole country of Cambodia.
And there's, with these high rises going up, 36-story, 42-story, even higher, Paul and I, we don't know how they can be protected. There might be standpipes on every other floor, and that is a type of system that there's a hose, and the firefighter connects hose that he brings up to the floor, or just uses that hose already there to put out the fire on that floor, say it's the 32nd floor. But we don't know if...
But you still got to go into the building.
You still got to go into the building.
And go up.
And the firefighters here basically are not trained for interior attack.
Right.
They do have a compressor here at the station to fill, but very antiquated, broke down. I would not trust it with my life.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't have enough air, enough breathing apparatus. But still, that means walking up... the stairwell where there may be a fire.
Yeah.
To go up.
Yeah. And there is an international fire code that countries do need to adhere to for building standards. I have no idea if Cambodia adheres to them.
Yeah. Now, how are you funded?
Since I am a 501c3, I receive money donations via that way, as well as having a fundraiser at a restaurant in Colorado twice a year. They donate most of the night's proceeds. In years past, I donated all the proceeds from craft sales that I brought back to America. I went broke in the process, so now it's mainly just donations and fundraiser at a restaurant. But I will ramp up my efforts sending letters out to celebrities and any other entities I can to get the word out and to raise more money.
And some of you can help as well.
Definitely. We appreciate your support.
As I said, Doug and I were in email contact, and I went through EMS school in the Philippines, and Doug was kind of a big supporter of that, giving me moral support and gyro, keeping me going. And one of the problems that people like Doug run into, and myself too to an extent, is that when you're doing a humanitarian project, you yourself have to be fed, clothed, and housed while you're doing that project. And you don't want to take money out of the project because you feel bad. This is money earmarked for fire engines in this case, and you don't want to spend it on yourself. But then, well, if you don't have any place to live, how can you help other people? And it's a balancing act for anyone that's doing humanitarian work over here.
It definitely is, and it's a fine balance. And my friends back home in America see what I've done, and they say, Doug, you have to feed yourself. If you can't feed yourself, how are you going to keep your nonprofit going? And so I'm learning to pay myself a salary small so I can put 90% plus of the money to the people in Cambodia, the training of the firefighters. I also help children in Cambodia with supplies, medical supplies, latex gloves, stuffed animals, clothing. One trip at a time, one media piece at a time, and it all works out.
Awesome. Doug, you're doing a really good thing, man.
Thank you.
Doing a really good thing.
Thank you, Antonio.
You're saving lives. You're saving lives. You know that.
You're doing a good job, too, and getting the word out is priceless.
All right, man.